Hello, today we will see the auditory tube. Auditory tube is also called as the pharyngotympanic or the eustachian tube. It is a trumpet-shaped osteocartilaginous tube that is made up of bone as well as elastic cartilage. It is lined by mucous membrane and communicates the lateral wall of nasopharynx. So in the lateral wall of nasopharynx, we have seen the opening of the auditory tube, which is behind the inferior nasal concha, and this communication is the other side is in the middle ear in the anterior wall. It is 36 millimeter long and is divided into two parts. The osseous or the bony is 12 millimeters and it forms the posterior and lateral one third, whereas the cartilaginous part is 24 millimeters and forms the anterior and the medial two thirds of the auditory tube. The junction between these two parts is called the isthmus, and this is the narrowest part of the auditory tube. So if we see the bony part, it would be somewhat like this, and the cartilaginous part would be, which is longer, and this is the narrowest isthmus. The direction of the auditory tube is downwards, forwards and medially from the ear, that is tympanic cavity, and it comes forwards towards the nasopharynx. It makes two angles. So while it is traversing, it makes 45-degree angle with the sagittal plane and 30-degree angle with the horizontal plane. So the tympanic end is a small bony opening in the anterior wall of the middle ear, whereas the pharyngeal end is a large slit-like opening in the lateral wall of the nasopharynx, 1.25 centimeters behind the posterior end of the inferior nasal concha. Now, if this is the lateral wall of the nose and this is superior, middle and inferior nasal concha, this is the opening of the auditory tube here, and it is guarded or it shows above it there is a small elevation that is called the tubal elevation, beneath which lies the tubal tonsil, and the distance is 1.25 centimeter behind the inferior nasal concha. So the auditory tube position, it is somewhat here. So this is the petrous temporal bone is here. This is the petrous temporal, and sulcus tubi is a ridge like this, and this is the direction. So here is the external acoustic meatus. This is the tympanic plate, and here is the middle ear, and from here to the nasopharynx is the auditory tube. Now the relations of the osseous part, it begins in the anterior part of the middle ear, goes downwards, it is 12 millimeter. It narrows into a rough or a jagged margin at the junction of squamous and petrous part where it gets attached. So this is the bony, if this is the bony part, its end is jagged like this, rough, where the cartilaginous part will be attached. So above it is related to the canal for tensor tympani, below tympanic plate of temporal bone. So all T's to remember. Medially internal carotid artery in the canal, it is seen here, and laterally is the downturned edge of the tegment tympani. So above tensor tympani, below tympanic plate, medially carotid internal carotid artery, and laterally tegment tympani. Fibrocartilaginous part. Remember, it is called fibrocartilaginous because of its formation, but the cartilage which is present in the auditory tube is elastic cartilage. So it forms the medial two-third. It joins the bony part at its jagged end, that is called the isthmus. It is formed by elastic cartilage, which is a inverted J-shaped plate, and it forms its roof and the medial wall. So this roof and the medial wall, whereas the floor and its lateral wall is formed by the fibrous membrane. Hence the name is fibrocartilage. So green colored floor and lateral wall is formed by fibrous membrane. It passes downwards, forwards, medially along the sulcus tubi, which I showed you in the base of the skull, between greater wing of sphenoid and apex of petrous temporal bone. So this is apex of the petrous temporal bone here, and this is green colored is the greater wing of sphenoid, and between this here is the sulcus tubi. Fibrocartilaginous part is related anterolaterally. It is related to the spine of sphenoid, and medial to spine of sphenoid is chorda tympani, and lateral to it is the auriculotemporal nerve. Tensor veli palatini separates the tube from the mandibular nerve, otic ganglion, chorda tympani, and middle meningeal artery. Posteromedially, there is the levator veli palatini, salpingopharyngeus, and petrous part of the temporal bone. So anterolaterally is this one. It is related to this muscle, that is tensor veli palatini, and posteromedially is levator veli palatini. This we have seen in the muscles of the soft palate. The tensor veli palatini, which originates from the anterolateral part of the tube, is also called as dilator tubi because it helps to open the tube. Then it passes through the sinus of Morgagni, which is the space between the superior constrictor and base of skull. It pierces two fascia of the pharynx, that is buccopharyngeal and pharyngobasilar, and opens in lateral wall of nasopharynx. This we have seen already. Muscles attached to the auditory tube. Medial lamina, which is cartilaginous, gives attachment to tensor tympani, levator veli palatini, and salpingopharyngeus muscle, whereas lateral lamina, which is fibrous, gives origin to tensor veli palatini muscle. Mechanism. The opening of auditory tube is active as well as passive. Actively it is opened by tensor veli palatini, which is also called as dilator tubi muscle. It is acting on palate also, and it is acting on the auditory tube also. Now passively it is opened by the levator veli palatini, but actively the tensor veli is the important muscle. It is lined by, the bony part is lined by thin non-ciliated cuboidal to flat epithelium, whereas cartilaginous part is lined by ciliated columna with mucous glands and lymphoid aggregates near its end, which are called the tubal tonsil. The tube is kept in position by the processus tubarius, which is a small bony support along the medial pterygoid plate, posterior border. The fibrous tissue which attaches the tube to the sulcus tubi, and also the two muscles which hold the tube between them, that is tensor veli and levator veli. Blood supply. It is supplied by the ascending pharyngeal, middle meningeal, and artery of pterygoid canal, and the veins drain into pharyngeal and pterygoid plexus of veins, lymphatics into the retropharyngeal group of nodes, and the nerve supply, bony part is by the glossopharyngeal nerve through its tympanic plexus. Cartilaginous part is by the nervus spinosus, which is the meningeal branch of mandibular nerve. At the opening, it is also supplied by the branches of supplying the nasopharynx, that is through the pterygopalatine ganglion. Functions is of the auditory tube are: it maintains the equilibrium of air pressure on either side of the tympanic membrane, hence it protects the middle ear and the fine structures inside it, that is the ossicles, from high sound pressure. It is closed at rest, but it opens by the action of this tensor villi and levator villi. It is reflexly opened during swallowing, yawning, sneezing. Also, you know that while you are ascending or descending in an aeroplane, you feel that there is a blocked ears. So what happens is, when there is when you are ascending, the outside pressure decreases, whereas in the middle ear pressure increases, so the tympanic membrane bulges. When you are descending, the opposite happens. So when you do a Valsalva maneuver, or you blow air by closing your nose as well as mouth, the auditory tube opens, and this helps to equalize the pressure on either side of tympanic membrane. Then as it opens in nasopharynx, it also helps in clearance of the middle ear secretions, and it is lined by ciliary epithelium, which helps in the drainage of the secretions. And if because it is connecting nasopharynx and the middle ear cavity, if it gets blocked, or if there is any infection in the nasopharynx, that may be transmitted to the middle ear. Or if the tube is blocked, there is pain in the ear, and this pain is aggravated during swallowing. Now this can be relieved by putting some decongestant drops in the nose, which open the ostium and help to relieve the pressure. Infections, when they pass from nasopharynx to the middle ear, sometimes they may lead to infection of the ear, and the tympanic membrane might rupture, and it will lead to pus coming out from the ear also. And this is common in children, because the tube in the children is shorter, as is shown in the lower diagram. It is wider and it is more straight. The angulation is not there than the adults. Hence, in children, the infections are common. These are the references. Thank you.